Got to start with you, Renee. This was a big story. I even messaged you at the time to say this is the good oil. If you're right that the talk is that Labor's Mike Kelly will leave the seat of Monaro. Monaro, Bellwether, just outside the Canberra boundary. You'll tell us why that is. But more interestingly is who could replace him, and speculation that Kelly would run dead on a National Party candidate, and that National Party candidate could cause a bit of leadership ructions in Canberra.
Yes, the replacement would be John Barilaro, the current Deputy New South Wales Nationals leader. The Deputy Leader of the New South Wales Government and the Nationals leader in New South Wales. Now, John Barilaro is quite easy to say, a polarising type of character. He would not have an easy run if he got into federal parliament, because there are a number of people in this place who have issues with John Barilaro. A few months ago, I wrote a story about how member for Wide Bay, Lou O'Brien, and John Barilaro, when they're at an event, had to be physically separated because they're about to get into blows. So there's some bad blood between.
Yeah, just let me get into that. What's the issue here? Is it jealousy about the fact that this guy gets a national profile, even though he's a state deputy premier? Is it because he goes against the grain on issues like nuclear? What's the rub?
The issue on that is it's long-standing about him and Malcolm Turnbull. So I don't know if you remember a few years ago, he made some comments about booting, get rid of Turnbull.
He did on Alan Jones, and he was right, I reckon.
That's anyway. Right. Yeah. And I think what happened was, at the time, Lou O'Brien, the federal member for Wide Bay, tweeted, "How about you stick to your own lane, buddy? This is the big leagues." And so so John Barilaro has actually never quite forgiven him for that. And so when they came face to face for the first time, it got quite heated, and it was at a Metcash event at the Gold Coast, and they literally were physically separated. So there's others in the party too. I'm pretty sure Barnaby Joyce isn't a big fan, but obviously the person who'd be worried the most would be Nationals leader Michael McCormack, because he'd be worried about his own leadership.
And Mike Kelly, is it likely that he will go, and what's his reason for going? Because he's ex-military, he would be, I would think, a real addition to Labor's, national security strength. But he's not the Shadow Minister for Defence, is he?
No, he's not. That's Richard Marles, the Deputy Leader of the Labor Party. Mike Kelly has been telling anyone who will listen that he has been offered a job by a Silicon Valley firm. And as the story goes, the wage he'll be paid keeps going up and up and up. And so many people in the Labor Party are thinking, well, mate, are you going to go, or are you just all talk? And part of the frustration, I think, with Dr Kelly is that he isn't, the spokesman for Defence. And that's caused some friction between Richard Marles's office and himself. And the other issue too is this is so entrenched within the National Party ranks at the moment, this issue of will he or won't he, that there's even talk about Angus Taylor's sister-in-law, who's currently a senator in New South Wales, would replace Barilaro.
She's in the upper house in New South Wales, yeah. And look, the interesting thing is, yes, it's a very tight seat in Monaro. It's a bellwether. We call it a bellwether because it usually moves with the government. This is an anomaly that it stayed with Labor, even though the coalition won power. But it's also a seat with pockets of drought-affected communities. And, of course, governments don't tend to do well in by-elections. They would want to pick up this seat to make their majority a little bit safer than it is now. It'd give them a 3-seat buffer. You would expect, though, that they wouldn't do well in a by-election, notwithstanding Labor's woes. And whether or not drought would play an issue would be a real concern for Liberal strategists. But all very interesting.